charging handle so damn small. What is going on, my beautiful LARPers and LARPettes? Today we're going to go over the new SIG Spear Lite, or the LT for short. Now, before I get into it, I just want to give you guys a full disclosure on my relationship with SIG. All the SIGs that you've seen on my page, on my Instagram, here on the table, except for this one, the MCX, whatever you see around me that's SIG, I have purchased myself. This one here, SIG did send this out to me for review, or T&E, and unfortunately I do have to send it back after I'm done reviewing it. So I do want to give a big thank you to SIG for sending this out for testing, and I want to give a big thank you to my buddy Max Michel. I pretty much hit him up and said, hey, can you put in a good word for me and try to get me one of these so that way I can make a cool video for you guys. So there you go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and compare it directly to this SIG MCX Virtus here. This is an 11.5 inch 5.56. This is a 16 inch 5.56. But I just want to directly compare it so I can show you the differences between the Gen 2 and the now Gen 3. I also have a SIG Rattler here. I probably won't be comparing it too much to this one just because it's 300 blackout. It's the smaller version and it's basically more comparable to the MCX Virtus. So starting right at the front here, you get SIG's QD 3-prong flash hider. This works directly with their SIG QD suppressors. Now, I don't have one of their SIG suppressors. I'm most likely going to remove this one and put a different flash hider on there and use one of my own suppressors, but as of now, I don't have one of those. Now, you can swap this out, but I do recommend if you are going to swap this out, you take your time because they are rock set onto that barrel, and that's pretty much how all of their SIGs come. It's just a pain in the ass to take off sometimes, but you can take it off. This is threaded in half by 28. Now, the barrel is a cold hammer forged 1-in-7 twist carbon steel barrel. Super accurate. I did zero this rifle at 36 yards, took it out 210 yards-ish, shot a couple mags at that distance, and it was phenomenal. It worked great. Now, I do want to mention that this barrel is slimmed down compared to the Virtus barrel here. I'll put them side by side for you, and you can definitely tell that the Virtus is a little bit chunkier. Now, moving on to the actual gas block area itself, this is also slimmed down compared to the Virtus. I'll show them side by side as well. So you also still have the same 2-position gas valve adjustment that you do have on the Virtus there, so that's not changed. That's really nice. And I do want to mention, when I did get this first out at the range, the selector was flipped onto the suppressed side, and when I took it out there, I didn't pay any mind. I just got everything together, slapped the mag in, started shooting some rounds, and it wasn't picking up like my third round sometimes. And I was like, oh crap, what's going on? So I was like kind of confused for a little bit. I put a couple more mags and it was still having the same issue, and I was like, man, I hope this isn't a dud. And it didn't really occur to me to adjust the selector there, so I flipped it over to the right side and it started working. So that was my own dumb fault. Now, moving on to the actual handguard itself, this is a huge improvement over the Virtus, and I say huge because of a couple of things. For one, it's slimmed down considerably compared to the Virtus here. This is a fat rail. It's not an uncomfortable rail, but it's definitely fatter than the new LT. And they also added these 2 hex screws on the left and right side of the handguard. And I'm pretty sure the reason why they did that was because on the Virtus here, it's only this one front takedown pin that's holding this rail together. So if I push that pin over, I can pull that rail off. And some people were having issues with lasers not holding 0 onto this rail itself. So if you're sad that SIG put more points of contact on this rail so that way it's more reliable and holding 0, then I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, I didn't really use it. I have an actual, whoa. I have a 300 blackout barrel with a fatter rail that I was meaning to put on this guy, but I've still been using it as that because I don't really want to use my 300 blackout barrel. It's nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice to just be able to pop that off, pull the rail off, then take those 2 screws out and swap barrels, but I don't really see myself doing that often. And even if I did do it, it's not going to cost me any more time just to carry a tool to take those 2 screws off and pop it off the same way that I did that one. So just carry a tool with you guys, which you always should. And also, if you're an idiot like me and you don't check your gas settings and you don't know which way to put your gas setting, you do have a plus and a minus side on this receiver here, and the minus side is for the suppressed setting and the plus side is for the unsuppressed setting. So it's right on the rail for you guys, and I didn't look at that. Now, if you look at towards the end of the rail here where it almost meets the receiver, you can see that you no longer have a QD attachment point there. They've done away with that, which I don't really think that's a big deal. I can add my own on the front there, however which way I want to. I thought that was just taking up rail space for me, so I'm glad they kind of got rid of that. Now, moving on to the receiver, you do have deeper milling cuts on the front portion of it there compared to the Virtus. They did slim down the receiver some, so on the back of it here, it's not as raised. It's more flush compared to the Virtus there. And it also seems the upper receiver is more rounded at the edges compared to the Virtus is more of a squared out profiling. Now, the charging handle has always been a big issue of mine on all of the SIG MCX platforms, and I still don't know why they don't go with a bigger charging handle. I mean, it gets the job done. It does what it's supposed to do, but it busts my knuckles every now and then, especially with this damn folding adapter here. It protrudes halfway out to the actual charging handle, so when you do get to that specific area and your finger's there, the front of my knuckle usually smacks that damn thing, and if I don't have gloves on or something, sometimes I just bust the hell out of that finger, and it sucks. I mean, yeah, you can work around it, but I prefer a larger charging handle. Now, I'm not going to pull these apart right now, but I'm going to throw in some B-roll footage for you guys to see the bolt differences, because the bolt carriers are similar but also different. They look the same, but they're not the same, so they take apart differently. On the LT, they made it so that it's a little bit more user-friendly. Now, I do want to point something out on the actual receiver and the bolt carrier itself. If you look on the left side of the LT here, they don't have any marking on that metal plate there, or they don't have the multi-cal marking that you see on the Rattler or my Virtus there. On the Virtus, it also shows on the left side that it is Virtus, and on the Rattler, it shows that it's a Rattler. Not sure why they didn't put logos on there. I don't know if I like it more or if I don't like it more. I don't know. I feel like since the others have it, that they should put that on there, but maybe for the initial release they didn't, or maybe since this is a TNA gun, I don't even have it. So if you do have those markings on your LT, go ahead and put a comment down below and let me know if it's just mine. Now, if I forgot to mention, this is a short stroke piston system. Now, this is nothing new to the industry. I just want to mention that for you new guys that are out there that are looking at the SIG MCX line of rifles as a first time purchase. Go read up on the short stroke piston system. Now, moving on back to the stock. It looks like a little boot at the bottom. It's like a slimmed down Scar UGG boot. Beep, 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 beep. It is an all metal construction, and they also throw in this little cheek weld piece here. It's a little plastic, and you can just pop that off super easily. It doesn't really adjust up or down unless I'm missing something, but it's just a plastic piece, so that way you don't have your face against metal. It is pretty comfortable. I didn't really have an issue with it when I was shooting, but I feel that maybe they should have threw in something a little bit cooler, right? A little bit adjustable, but maybe in the future they'll come out with more accessories for this. But as of now, it gets the job done. The main thing that I want to point out is on the folder, and the folder has this push button release now, which I think is amazing, because on my other SIGs that do not have this push button release, it's kind of hard to lift up sometimes, especially when I'm out in the desert running around getting dirt and all this other shit in there. It kind of gets stuck and jammed sometimes, where I kind of have to smash that guy up or push this down and pull up at the same time. It's just pretty hard. I don't think I've ever had an issue with the original ones unlocking on their own. I've just had an issue trying to unlock those things. And I have one, two, I saw on this MPX back here, I don't know if you can see it, but I do have that over there. And they did add this push button, which makes it a lot easier for me to fold that guy. So thank you, SIG, for saving me that headache. You still have this typical dust cover here, and you do have this plastic blast deflector that you have on the other MCX series of guns. Now let's move on to the lower receiver. There's a lot to unpack on this guy, and the main thing that you're going to see is the bolt release lever here that they now have added to the right side of the rifle. So this rifle is now fully ambidextrous, as opposed to the bolt release only being on the left side on the Virtus and the Rattler over there. You do not have that little lever there. And that is a huge plus. I think aside from the rail update, I think updating that was definitely the way to go. And it functions as two things, right? So you have the actual bolt lock. So you pull your charging handle back and you can pull that lever up and it locks the bolt to the rear. There you go. And if you put a new fresh mag in, it drops the bolt. So you don't have to rely on that ping pong paddle. But if you do want to do it the traditional way, on the left side of the rifle here, you do have your traditional ping pong paddle, and you do have the bottom portion of the ping pong paddle where you can lock that bolt to the rear as well. But it was a pleasure using that lever. I was able to do reloads super fast. Didn't have an issue with using it at all. And you do have the same exact mag release that you do on the Virtus. So that has not changed. You also have the same safety selector that you do have on the Virtus and the Rattler. And I don't think the magwell is any different than the Virtus. I didn't really see that it's a little bit more flared out or not. But again, when I was doing reloads, it was a breeze. Now moving on a little bit more back, you do have steel QD attachments now. Now these are different than the ones that are on the Virtus here. So if you pay attention to the Virtus, the QD points are directly milled onto the receiver here. And if you do attach a QD swivel here, it will twist on you. So you do get some spinning. You will get some marking there if you have a swivel that kind of comes in contact with the receiver. And the more you use that on this lower receiver, you do run a risk of degrading those holes, maybe warping them out of shape. I don't know. I never used slings long enough on the Virtus to actually tell, but it just puts my mind at ease that SIG did think about putting some steel QD attachment points that are non-rotational. So if you do put a QD on this guy, it won't rotate on you, but it's just nice to know that I have those now. And if I do attach something, I don't have to worry about wearing that hole down to the point where if it does get worn down, now I have to replace my whole receiver on the Virtus compared to the LT. Now if that wears down, if it ever wears down, I could just send it into SIG and they could just replace those steel inserts. Now the grip looks exactly the same as the one on the Virtus, but upon feeling them both at the same time, I can feel that the LT is a tiny bit more aggressive on the texturing. So if you're actually feeling it here, giving you guys a little bit of ASMR. I never really had any issues with the Virtus in terms of slippage issues, but it just feels more aggressive on the LT. This rifle is a anodized coyote color. If you're looking at this with these panels here and this Strike Industries vertical foregrip and this grip here, I kind of have this little 50 shades of FDE thing going on here, but the grip is definitely darker than the anodizing on the rifle itself. So that's the only thing that's really gonna pop out at you that's not matching in color. Now the last thing that I want to talk about is another update that SIG did to this LT here, is the trigger. The trigger is their flat face match trigger. I don't know what the hell they call it. It's a flat face. One second, guys. All right. They call it their flat blade match trigger. I think it's a pretty good trigger for being stock. I mean, it's definitely a lot better than the trigger that they have on the Virtus here. It is a two-stage trigger, so you have a tiny bit of play right there. Till you hit the wall, then it breaks. It's a really nice, crisp break and a really nice reset. I was able to get some really good splits on this guy. And the most important thing that I want to mention about the trigger is you can now put your standard AR-15 triggers in the LT, as opposed to the Virtus. You were pretty much only able to put MCX style triggers in this guy, which was kind of sad that I wasn't able to put my AR-15 triggers, because I have a lot of cool AR-15 triggers that I would like to put in the MCX series of guns, and now I could. I think I also have a binary trigger somewhere around here for those of you that are binary curious. But yeah, huge improvement with the trigger. Really awesome that you can put AR-15 triggers in it now. And I think that about does it on my explanation. Now, with all that said, I can't really talk about the weight differences just because this is an 11.5 inch and this is a 16 inch, and I can't really compare the two because they're not the same length. But from what I've seen with all these accessories off of it when I first got it and I actually held the two, the LT was definitely lighter with this stock. This brace should add some weight to this guy, but I could definitely tell the weight differences. I can see the weight differences. So I can't really give you a full scientific weight difference on the two, but you can definitely tell that the LT is a lighter rifle. Now let's talk about reliability. I went out and within 3 hours of me filming and shooting and doing all that cool stuff, 850 rounds through this guy in one day. I got this thing pretty damn hot where I was actually baking my hand on the rail here, and I think that was mostly due to me doing that cool bump fire stuff you had in there. Within those 850 rounds, I had 0 malfunctions, which was awesome. I have no doubt in my mind that this gun is gonna keep running past 1,000, past 2,000. I have around 2,500 rounds through this Virtus here, and I have around maybe 1,000 rounds through this Rattler here, and I've had 0 issues with those two as well. I have full confidence that this gun is gonna run with however many rounds I put through it. But it did handle my, I don't know if you want to say torture testing, but I didn't really torture it. I just shot a lot in a very short amount of time. But overall, reliability was great. I did not have a laser to slap on this guy and see if it's gonna keep holding 0, but maybe in the near future, I'll have another video up of me if that rail's gonna hold 0. Alrighty guys, so I think I pretty much covered everything that I can cover on this LT here. I think it is a huge improvement over the Virtus, just for the fact that you can put the AR-15 trigger and you get this new bolt lever lock release thing there. I gotta find the actual nomenclature for that, but let's just call it the... Instead of calling it like a bad lever, let's call it the rad lever because it's fucking rad. But anyways, you get that rad lever on that guy, and yeah, the rail's an improvement for sure, but I do know that there's aftermarket rails that you can put on the Virtus to make it a little bit more slimmer. And I don't know if you make it more stable, but definitely slimmer. But the huge improvement are those two there. And also want to mention the bolt that is more user-friendly. So yeah, there's a bunch of different things, guys. Why am I even choosing 2 things out of it? The whole thing is updated, basically, other than little minute parts on this rifle itself. So I guess I'm just rambling on at this point that this is a better rifle than the Virtus. Just swap that stupid charging handle, guys. Now, who is the SIG Spear LT for? If you're a SIG Virtus owner and you want to spend another $2,500 on another rifle, is it worth $2,500? Is it worth the upgrade? I think so. There's enough updates on this guy to justify another purchase. I mean, I try to justify every one of my purchases, don't tell my wife. But that's only if you have enough money to purchase one of these. Because if you don't have enough money, don't buy it, obviously. I don't recommend selling your Virtus or your Rattler just because I think they're still really great rifles. I think you should just add one of these to your collection if you're gonna do that. I'm pretty sure if you were to sell your Virtus or your Rattler, you'd get some good money because these are highly sought after. They're pretty hard to find nowadays. But with that being said, if you do sell it, just make sure you have one of these in line already. Maybe even purchase this before you sell it, because I don't think you'd have an issue with selling the Virtus. Just make sure you can get one of these because SIG has a reputation of not having enough MCXs for the general populace, so they're really hard to find. And when you do find them, you find them kind of overpriced on Gunbroker and stuff like that. Do I think you should go and buy an overpriced LT from Gunbroker? No, I don't think you should buy anything overpriced on Gunbroker. I think if you were to take your time, regardless of how long it takes, how many years, you're going to find one if you keep looking. Don't panic buy one of these just because they came out. Hopefully SIG ramps up production on these, because these are going to be very popular, especially since they did get those military contracts. Hopefully they'll be able to keep up with the civilian market. That's one of the biggest complaints that you'll hear about these, is that there's not enough of them, and I have 3 here. Now, if you are a up-and-coming connoisseur of these SIG firearms, if you are considering buying some sort of MCX, you should go straight to the Spear LT. It's everything that everybody wanted on the older SIGs. And if you have an opportunity to get one and you're already looking at getting one, then just go directly to the Spear here. As you can see, I'm kind of a MCX fanboy of some sort. I have the Rattler, I have the Virtus, and I also have the MPX. Also have an MPX-K. I have a lot of SIG firearms that I've purchased over the years, and I'm definitely going to add this rifle to my collection. I'm just wondering if I could just buy this one, or if I have to send this back and get another one. Who knows? I'll keep you guys updated on that. I'm just here to show you guys something cool and give you guys my opinions on it, give you guys my opinions on what you guys should look for on a rifle, and let you guys know that out of my testing, basically out of 3 different SIGs, they've worked phenomenal for me. Yeah, I have my little things that I have that are nitpicky on each one of them, but so far on this one, the charging handle, SIG, the charging handle. But overall, I think it is a phenomenal rifle. And if you do see one in person, hopefully you watched enough YouTube videos and researched a lot on the MCX platform, because if you do see one in person, guaranteed it's not going to be there the next day. So thank you guys for watching my video. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much on this, and hopefully I got enough information for you guys to actually retain throughout this video. I'm going to talk at the good boys and gals out at SIG to see if I can get these 7.62 versions, so I can do a video on that guy for you as well. But as of now, I have to send this one back, sadly. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I appreciate you all. Love you. Catch you in the next one. So I just want to say this, guys, for those of you that are still confused on the key differences between the Virtus and the LT. Think of yourself as the Virtus, right? You're in a new relationship. You're very in love. But then she cheats on you. You get your heart broken. You need an outlet. You go to the gym. You work out. You shave some weight. You get ripped. You come out a new man, but the same beast. You come out like the Chad of the MCX line, which is the Spear LT. The Spear LT is just the Virtus that got its heart broken and became a Chad.